I think we already have our next guest, so I'm going to table the timeline so that we can keep things rolling and talk to someone who I believe the name is sort of different, but we do have a guest who wrote many, many years for the Daily News. He was their chief theater critic. Now he writes about arts and entertainment for Long Island in Newsday. But, well, you know what? We'll have him tell us. Let's make sure it's him. Getting ready to join. Let's hope it is. Yes, yes it is. Hello.
Good morning. Oh, hey, let me see if I could change this name. Am I on with you already, or am I in the waiting room?
No, you're on. When I click to admit you, you got admitted because I wanted to get you on early. This is.
Hang on
I can change your name if you want.
I'm going to rename. I'm going to do it right now.
Okay, great.
Sorry, sorry guys if I'm.
No, it's fine.
I thought I was in the waiting
room. Yeah, no, we're all good. And now that is Joe, and if you don't know how to pronounce it, I totally understand. We're talking with JOE DZIEMIANOWICZ, former critic of the Daily News, but you're writing, and you also write for Theater News Online, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love it. Love working with Roger. Yeah, doing that, and yeah, it's been a crazy season.
But you're also writing now for Newsday, but not theater reviews, or what are you doing for them?
I do all sorts of feature things for them, and lifestyle features. Been doing a lot of work on graduations and writing for Market Watch about various things, graduations, and all sort of COVID-19 related stories. So yeah, I'm covering a lot of different things. Theater writing right now is sort of a narrow window. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose that's the drama of writing about theater right now. Yeah.
Wait a minute, but when the pandemic ends, where will your stuff be? Well, New York Theater News, but
we'll see what. Yeah, we'll have to see when we regroup, when it all happens, and what's still going. It is a pretty big question mark. You know what I mean?
Well, for now, you've been watching a lot of the Zoom shows, keeping in the game just by watching the stuff that I'm sure that the National Theatre's been doing in London, as well as specific shows created for Zoom. And I'm wondering what one or two of your favorites that you've seen during the pandemic.
Well, I have to say that I think something that really kind of was a testament to the platform really working was, Michael Urie live from his living room doing buyer and seller, which was sort of that 2-camera piece that felt very much like you were doing the play. It was a play that I loved. Jonathan Tollins had done buyer and seller and took sort of a simple what if scenario. What if Barbra Streisand hired somebody to work down in her basement, and turned it into a really funny, really smart, not even snarky, but just really smart piece about celebrity, about the cost and the benefits. And, I thought it worked really, really well. But, and that was sort of felt like a very fully realized performance. But I have to say, of the pieces I've seen streaming, I think my favorite piece came in April, and I was watching, again, I sort of was testing the water. How will this work? What will this be like? We're used to seeing people on stage doing this in front of us. And I watched the Heidi Chronicles, where they had reunited that original cast. And I remarked to a fellow critic after it was done, I said, well, if I was on the fence about whether or not this could work, this really showed to me how well it can work. For me, I had seen Heidi Chronicles in the revival with Elizabeth Moss and Bryce Pinkham, and it was, and watching it, you always have this 2020 vision. That was a Pulitzer winner. That's always the question mark that emerges, or the thought bubble that floats over my head most of the time. And I didn't think it quite worked, but watching Joan Allen, and I felt really lucky to get to see Joan Allen in a really good role. I had, I grew up upstate, and I got to New York in 1988. So during that time, I was watching Joan Allen do things like The Contender, really good movies. And then I spent my time getting to see her in the Jason Bourne movies. Hadn't seen her on stage till I think she did that Jeremy Irons, work.
I like that play.
Impression. You liked the play?
Yes, I did. Yes,
I did. Yeah, you were an outlier, I think. I thought it was very wispy, and a play about sort of spotty, I guess would be the right word, of a play about an impressionist. But so it was really great to see her sink her teeth into a a part that just fit her like a glove, I think. And I sort of love, I don't sort of, I love Joan Allen. I think she's one of those actresses who's so no nonsense, so straightforward. I think getting to see Boyd Gaines, you know, and Stephen Friedman and Cynthia Nixon, right, was there, you know, not having to run back and forth. So I thought that that really showed how well the platform could work in sort of, it's a very intimate play, and the play sort of exists, I think, mostly for two great speeches. One where, you know, her friend talks about, you know, you're sort of this, you know, privileged woman, you know, worrying about this when there are all these men dying. But it also, the centerpiece is Heidi's speech to that graduating class. It just sort of, it, one might say it goes off the rails, but on the other hand, it just, I thought, was such a perfect speech about, you know, life is filled with all sorts of crazy stuff and unexpected things. And I thought the platform served that play really well.
Well, that's your favorite of what Zoom can do. I mean, because people who haven't seen one of these Zoom shows, they kind of wonder, how does it work? I mean, it's just people staring into a camera. How is that theater? But you kind of explain how it can be. It can be a very intimate visual experience. But I want to talk about experiences back in the day. Oh, it feels so long ago. When you walked into a playhouse and sat next to people and people sat next to you and you stared up at the stage and you saw something magical. What are one or two of the most magical things that you've ever seen?
It was just a matter of time before we were kind of missing Hog, you know, fighting for the armrest, you know. Yeah, no, it's funny when I looked at your piece. It was at the question as sort of favorite moments, and so God, there I could go on and on. I mean, from the high school, you know, I grew up in Lake George, New York, and we always did a high school. We did a senior musical and junior play, and the year before my grade did Anything Goes. And I know this sounds probably goofy, but it sort of really established a love for theater because the theater director was also sort of the social studies teacher, had doing I Get a Kick Out of You. You know, the entire stage was in motion, and suddenly everyone froze except Reno. And if you could imagine what that was like, you know, to this young sort of kid, you know, of course I'd seen theater, we'd taken field trips and that kind of thing, but I thought that was just so cool because it worked on so many levels, just how theater can do two things at once or a lot more. And so that's just a very early memory, but I was thinking about them and they sort of come in categories, the sort of getting to meet your hero. Uh, I love Maggie Smith, and you know, and I love her. I think that her performance in the movie of The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie is just, you know, unsettlingly great. And I never got to see her on stage. She didn't do a whole lot of Broadway, like 4 shows, I guess it was. But I did get to see her in Lettuce and Lovage, you know, which was sort of the lighter side. And so that was thrilling. This was it was 30 years ago. You know, just getting to see her on stage was one of those just great moments that, you know, getting to meet your hero. There she is. She walks, she talks, she moves, she makes you laugh, she makes, you know, so that was a great memory. More recently, I was reminded, just kind of going through my memory bank of moments that sort of stop you, you know, and just sort of lose yourself. I had seen August Osage County 3 times on Broadway. There were 3 different Violets. There was Deanna Dunnigan, who of course won the Tony, Estelle Parsons, who took it over, and then Felicia Rashad. But there was always only one Barbara, Amy Morton. And that second act dinner scene, which you saw, and that amazing family breakdown. But I'll never forget the first time that I heard, you know, Amy Morton roar, "I'm running things now." And, you know, the collective hush in the theater was just, I'll never forget it. And I have it amplified 3 times, so why would I forget it? But it's such an amazing moment. And I do remember how that line comes back to haunt her, because someone later in the play says, "Well, you said you're running things," you know, and when everything's going incredibly wrong. But that's another great moment of a great actress. And you know, getting to see Tracy Letts on Broadway was just a great moment. You know, I'd seen Bug off Broadway, and knew who he was, but that was kind of a great showcase for him, and really was just a great piece of theater. Sort of an old-fashioned family play, what it says about the American family, how we're broken, how we're possibly mending. It just had so many great things to say. But that particular line and that particular moment is kind of etched into my gray matter.
Well,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, I mean, speaking of so many great things to say, we're talking with Joe DZIEMIANOWICZ. I do have to kind of wrap things up, but I want to just ask, and I may ask this question now of everybody, when would you feel comfortable walking back into a theater? Tomorrow, a year?
Yeah,
Year?
yeah, this is probably virtually every conversation I have. I think I'll be ready when it's safe for the actors to be on stage and, the musicians to be in the pit. I think about how close they sit together. So I
Right.
think until then,
I
I
mean,
don't.
should there be a vaccine, or is that beyond?
Yeah, I think that that's really going to be pivotal. I think that's what it's about. I think that's what it comes down to, because somebody has remarked this. I'm certainly not the first person to express this idea that, say we go back and somebody gets sick, that's going to be devastating. That I don't know how you would come back from that. So that's what I'm worried about. I think it really has to. I think that, T's need to be crossed, the I's need to be dotted, the shots need to be administered. I really do think that that's going to be important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it is important to me to at least celebrate Broadway as best we can under these strange
Yeah.
times, and to talk to experts and again, people who love the theater in a critical but truly open and
Right.
feeling way, like Joe DZIEMIANOWICZ. You can read his reviews, I mean, the older ones, at theaternewsonline.com. It's also, there's a
Correct.
hard copy called New York Theater News. And
Yeah.
you can also read his articles about Long Island, which you can find right now in Newsday and at newsday.com. Joe DZIEMIANOWICZ, stay healthy. And
Thanks,
God
Dave.
willing, we'll talk about a whole lot more theater a year from now on Dave's Gone By. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Dave. See ya.
See ya.